guys, this is the 2019 Toyota Sienna SE all-wheel drive minivan. And well, frankly, you guys aren't really buying that many minivans anymore. And that's a real shame because what you are buying are crossovers. And in many ways, a vehicle like this is better than a crossover. And we're gonna show you why. We're also gonna give you some numbers and we're gonna take it for a test drive. I'm a family man. Yep, I got kids, 2 of them. And there's always a spare. And I got dogs. Sometimes life is a little rough, but when you, come on, that was good. Come on, you're such an angry cameraman. The point is that having something like this is a lot easier when you have a family because you have comfortable seats that are a good distance away from each other. At least with my 9-year-old, his reach is about this far, so he's not able to really hit my daughter. That's good. You know what else is good? Cup holders everywhere, in the doors, right over there. But the best part? Massive video screen, which will keep them entertained for a couple hours. So road trips, you're taken care of. You know what a minivan is all about? It's all about utility. It's all about utility. It's the king of utility. Let me explain. First of all, yes, in most crossovers you can get 7 or 8 seating, which this provides. Granted, this has the captain's chair, so 7, which are mighty comfortable. Lots of legroom and spread out space. Oh yeah, flat floor. Those are all nice things to have. And you know what else? You can fold these seats, you can move them around, and you can use this thing for cargo. Yes, cargo room, very, very important. And Toyota's made the most out of it by doing something kind of cool. Check this out. Behind the 3rd row, they have over 39 cubic feet of space. And part of that has to do with this area here, where the seats fall into it. So when you're folding these seats, it's relatively straightforward, although it does take a couple of times to master. Once you do this, you slap them in, like slapping a bass. There we go. And this is a nice little touch. Toyota provided these little flaps, so that way you can make a nice flat surface and things don't fall in there. And behind the 2nd row, according to Toyota, over 87 cubic feet of space. Now, you can slide those seats forward, which I'm going to show you, or you can remove them. They fold up and they fold forward for even more space. And if you remove the seats and have a completely flat surface, 150 cubic feet of cargo room. Now what's really cool, for those of you who don't want a pickup truck but you want the utility of one, think about it this way. This is like a large pickup truck bed if you have everything out of here in a nice flat floor, except it's covered, and if you need to put people in there, boom, you can put people in there. There's a lot to love and a little bit to dislike about the layout altogether. What I do like is how easy the controls are for the driver to handle, and at the same time, quite often you will have a passenger who's there who's going to take over and slap your hand when you actually put it on the wrong radio station, or if you say something inappropriate, actually hit your hand again away from these vent controls and everything else. But the access to the radio system, not too bad, decent sized screen. This is a little bit of an issue. This actually shows you a couple tidbits of information, primarily temperature. I can't see it very well when the sun is hitting it. Another component with a vehicle like this is cubbies. Cubbies, 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 cubbies. Cubbies everywhere. Obviously, everybody's got one of these giant things, although this one can swallow up my arm and probably Matt the photographer. On top of that, if you look at this area here, lots of space. Decent space in the glove compartment. Lots of storage down here. Lots of storage in the doors. Good stuff. You know what else though? That's kind of weird to me because you got these cup holders right here and you got these extra ones here, and I think Toyota did that strictly to up their number of maximum cup holders. Yep, down there too, bro. Let's talk about power plants, because recently Toyota updated their power plant. They changed the engine and they changed the transmission. There was a time where you could actually get one of these babies with a 4-cylinder engine, but that's not the case today. This is a 3.5 liter V6 that puts out 296 horsepower and 263 pound-feet of torque. It's hooked up to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it's all-wheel drive. And MPG is very similar to a lot of crossovers as well, because it's 18 city, 24 highway, and 20 combined. Yep, it's really hard to look cool in a minivan. Let's face it, it's basically a bread box on wheels, and it's been really hard for automakers to find a way to make them look attractive. Toyota's tried, and they have added cool looking wheels and some ground effects, and they kind of made the front look mean, kind of, sort of. Bottom line, super utilitarian, not exactly super cool. Living in snow country, there's a real advantage to having this particular vehicle because it is the only minivan available in the United States with optional all-wheel drive. And I've had an opportunity to drive this in the snow and through some mud, and it's done very well. The weight really does help. Unfortunately, it only has a 6.6-inch ground clearance. Not a lot, and the overhangs in the front, well, pretty noticeable. However, in terms of the all-wheel drive system, is extremely sure-footed, and if you put snow tires on this thing, it would be an absolute goat through the snow. I highly recommend, if you want to maximize your utility, to get roof rails, and a lot of vehicles come with them standard. The cool thing here is that compared to a lot of crossovers, frankly speaking, I mean, look, I'm not that tall, I'm around 6'1", and I can easily reach up here and move cargo around. But the really cool part, which I've experienced before with a shorter spouse, she who must be obeyed, she's around 5'6", and she can creep up here and easily access the roof as well. That is something that you can't do in too many vehicles. All right, so amongst the things that are not quite as good as a crossover, towing. Now it does tow as well as some crossovers, 3,500 pounds maximum with this trim. However, if you got an equivalent Toyota Highlander, not the hybrid, but the regular one with the V6, that could tow up to 5,000 pounds. In terms of driving, look, it's a minivan, but that's a good thing for people who like to see. The windows are massive. It's a very tall greenhouse, so being able to see everything around you without having massive pillars is a nice thing. You won't have to worry about a really noisy vehicle because it's actually really well isolated and it's very comfortable on the highway. .5 decibels. You know, it is not an easy thing to make a van quiet. It's a large box and it's hollow inside. So being able to make this thing quiet at speed, actually, that's not too shabby. Let's talk about pricing because, look, it ain't cheap. The reason why is because it's the SE trim, which is sort of their sporty trim, and then it has the all-wheel drive system, it has the leather, it has the sunroof, it's got a lot of toys. And that means it's $45,910. Now, if you're looking at the equivalent crossover, let's say like the Highlander, in the similar trim, a little bit more money. So you're saving money in the end. Honestly, I don't understand why more of you aren't buying minivans. Look, I get it. You're buying the crossover because it's cool, looks kind of rugged. All right, but nothing is more utilitarian than this vehicle. It's comfortable. It holds a lot of people, it holds a lot of stuff, it's utilitarian, it can go a lot of places, especially with all-wheel drive. It's easy to drive, it has a pretty good ride on the highway, it's relatively easy to park. Yeah, not too bad. Thank you for joining me. I hope that in the future, if you guys are considering a crossover, but you really don't need a crossover, maybe have a look at something like this. For the Fast Lane Car, this is Nathan. I'll see you next time.